Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to, well, a couple of animatics today. This is a donation reward for Venom0027. So we are doing two animatics. I've decided to pair them together, even though they're assumedly pretty different. The first one is a Steven Universe animatic called Immortality Isn't Fun. It is by Janky Bones. The second one is the Ballad of Sara, and it is by Sophie Ferrer, also known as Soap Tears. So, yeah. I don't know what to expect with these. The Ballad of Sara does not sound familiar at all. With the Steven Universe one, at least I understand the, I guess, concept of that, because I have seen Steven Universe and all. The title of Immortality Isn't Fun is interesting to me, though. Because it's like, it's a concept that a lot of people think about, like, what would being immortal be like? And for me, this is kind of what I've always thought of it as. I feel immortality would be, honestly, fucking terrible. Not only having, like, loved ones and everything, like, dying off constantly around you, but also just, like, the concept of living forever kind of makes a lot of things of your life pointless in a way. It just takes away, like, a lot of the thrills and ideas and everything that come with, you know, living your life. It makes them meaningless. It makes them not really have that interest. Especially if it's full immortality. Like, if it's full immortality in the fact that you don't, like, age or die naturally and you can't be killed. I guess, as an example, like Salem from Ruby. If it's that kind of full immortality, that's fucking terrible. Why would you want that? It is 100% a curse, not a blessing. I don't see the appeal at all. Because it's like, even stuff like things that would normally be scary or thrilling or whatnot, things that, like, even something as silly as a thrill ride. It's like, it's not scary anymore. You know that there's no danger. You know that there's nothing that can happen. Part of the appeal of a thrill ride and stuff is that it's freaky. If anything goes wrong, things could go bad. And the speed and sometimes the way that the ride is handled, it gives this feeling of fear. And it's a good type of fear, and most of the time, yeah, you know it's going to be all right. The chances of anything actually going wrong is slim. But nonetheless, you still have that sense of fear. If you're immortal, there's no need, because even if something goes wrong, you'll be fine. You'll survive. It's all right. Plus, it just feels like, why would you want that? Growing old and, you know, having that finite life is something you should want, I feel. I don't understand. So it's like, the idea kind of sticks to that with me. And I'm kind of wondering how this is going to tackle that. Is it going to tackle it from the gems perspective? Because the gems are, from what we can tell, functionally immortal. They can be, quote-unquote, killed, just by being, you know, smashed and everything. or shattered, I think is the term they use, but still, it's like that seems to be pretty difficult to do. So, I don't know. I just feel like we'll find out. So yeah, we'll check out these two animatics and see what they have in store for us. But even though these are on YouTube, just to be safe, we are going to redirect it because I don't want to take any unnecessary risks. Excuse me. So we're going to redirect these as we do with pretty much everything. So the link will be in the description below. That being said, we're just going to get this started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the animatics. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, I'm going to get to it in a second, but I think it's pretty clear that the Ballad of Sara one hit me harder. That one was, out of these two animatics, I guess you could say my favorite. But let's talk about them in order. So, Steven Universe animatic, Immortality Isn't Fun by Janky Bones. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I know Janky Bones from somewhere, and I don't know from where. Maybe I've seen their art or something before. I don't know. Like, the name is very familiar, and I'm looking at the channel picture. You know what I mean. The skull face with the purple hair and everything. It's like, I know that image. And it's like, I must have seen something about their work before. But anyway, so this animatic gives this kind of story, operates under the idea that after being healed by Steven and, you know, his skin turning pink and everything, Lars is now immortal. That whenever he gains injuries or whatnot, these roses kind of form around his body to heal him. And so he can't die. He doesn't age along with everyone around him. He remains the same age, physically, mind you. And he doesn't, he can't seemingly do anything to stop that. This is a very heavy animatic, of course, dealing with stuff like suicide attempts, self-harm, and all of that. And even the deaths of loved ones. He sees all of his off-color friends killed in front of his eyes. He sees his parents aging and eventually passing away. All his friends getting older around him and having full lives that he's not properly able to have because, you know, his body doesn't age. It causes issues. It causes problems because he's stuck in the body of a very young person, and things had to change around him. Though Sadie getting with oh god, his name is escaping, Ronaldo, it's just like, why? Like, if you're gonna have him, like, the idea of, like, oh, she's moved on because, like, she's getting older and he's physically not, and it would be weird and everything, why Ronaldo? Like, of all the characters, like, I understand this was probably made before Shep debuted in Steven Universe Future, but still, why the fuck Ronaldo? Like, what? I don't know. Like, I think they had some kind of connection. I think that was mentioned at one point, but still, it's like, just seems weird to me. Either way, it's the idea that, like, Lars feels like he doesn't belong anymore, like he's just a burden and everything is just terrible. Immortality isn't fun. And it's sad. It's really sad. And this is, like I said, one of the main reasons I would never ever want to be immortal. The idea of immortality is terrifying to me because of these very kinds of reasons. And like I compared the idea of like full immortality and all to Salem from Ruby, and it's like, think about that. After gaining her immortality in the flashbacks we saw, the Lost Fable and all, we saw that Salem tried to kill herself multiple times. She tried to commit suicide because she didn't want to live in that world without Ozma. And she only went and started to turn the people against the gods after all of that failed. After she felt like she had nothing left to lose. She was broken by that. And mind you, it was her own fault. Very different situation than with Lars in Steven Universe here. But still, it's like there is a comparison to be made. The thing is, I don't think Lars is immortal. I don't think it ever really went for that idea. All we know is that he was healed from Steven's tears, and that turned him pink, and, you know, he became, I guess, like Lion in a way. That doesn't mean he's immortal. Unless I'm forgetting something that, like, I don't even remember the rose thing happening in the actual series, like the roses popping up to heal. I don't think that happens with him in the series, unless I'm forgetting something. It's possible. Especially from Steven Universe Future, where it's like, it's very possible I could forget something from there, because that series was so bad, I try to purge it from my mind. But let's move on and talk about the one I really want to talk about here. The Ballad of Sara. Now, I don't know what 35mm, a musical exhibition, is, but I swear I've heard about it before. Did Venom, have you had me react to something from that before? I don't know. It looks like it's an actual musical from what I'm gathering looking down on this. Because it says the song is The Ballad of Sara. Artist is Lindsay Mendez from the original cast of 35mm, a musical exhibition. So, yeah, I guess it's a musical. Just one I'm not familiar with, I guess. But again, I swear I've heard it before, so maybe I've reacted to something with that in it before. Anywho. Most people watching this would probably think like, oh, it gets pretty freaky and pretty intense and like everything. It's dark. It's a dark story in it. And I'm watching it, I'm like, this is just sad. This is making me literally cry. Like, I literally cried by the end there. Because this isn't just the story about a girl going insane and murdering a bunch of her classmates before being locked up in prison for presumably the rest of her life, and possibly even a mental asylum. This is the story of a girl who had so much pressure put on her by her father that she, over time, became so obsessed with the idea of winning the title of prom queen that all this pressure literally drove her insane. It literally drove her to lose her mind because of all the pressure, all the pain, all the stress. And it's a tragic story. This girl was presumably, like, it called her a bitch at the beginning. And so she presumably wasn't necessarily the best person. But it's very clear that her father, and possibly her mother, though I don't think it mentioned anything about her, at least her father was kind of forcing her into this lifestyle, forcing her to act a certain way, to gain these certain how do I put it? Like to gain certain friends or whatnot, to have these certain uh specificities about how she acts and how and what goes on in her life, to basically be the best uh of the best. And there's nothing wrong with it, trying to achieve being the best if you can, but you also have to do it right, to where it's not a toxic mentality. Because her father kind of forces her, it's like, oh, no daughter of mine is going to be anything less than prom queen. It's like he's basically telling her she has to be that or she's worthless. And it's scaring her. It terrifies her and it upsets her and it makes it so that she's obsessed with, pleasing her father. And on top of that, during all of this, her social status starts going down the hill as she gets more and more obsessed and more pushed and by her father to do this. She starts losing her friends. Her boyfriend leaves her for the girl she's basically competing against. Everything's going wrong to the point where it literally drives Sarah Berry insane. She loses her mind out of stress, out of pressure, out of the pain that she's being put through. That by no means excuses her murders or anything, but she is without question a victim here. She is driven to legitimate mental illness and full-fledged murderous insanity by the negative and toxic influences around her. And the problem is, stuff like this has happened. People have been driven to horrible things by others around them because of those influences. The pressure to live up to either a family name or living up to someone's expectations of you, sometimes both, and all kinds of other stuff too. In a way, I kind of was there myself. I was pressured and pushed for most of my young life into acting a certain way, thinking a certain way, being a certain way. And as I've stated on the channel before, I became a terrible person because of it. I had to be told how wrong I was. I had to be called out. And even when getting called out, it took a while for me to even accept that and realize that I did need to change. And luckily, thanks to all the people, all the friends I had who were telling me how wrong I was and telling me I needed to fix this about myself, I luckily was able to change because I had people there who, in a way, supported me. And support doesn't always mean agreeing with you. Sometimes it means calling you the fuck out, telling you you're fucking up. And that's what they were doing for me, and it helped me. It saved me and allowed me to turn my life around and become a better person. Sarah didn't have that support system. Everyone turned against her. Her friends told her her social life was dead. Her boyfriend chose this other girl over her, leaving her in the process. Her father was the toxic piece of shit who was forcing this idea of perfection on her. Everyone turned against her. No one supported her, and it drove her to the worst possible outcome. She turned insane. Her mind broke. She couldn't handle it anymore. And she killed, again, a bunch of her classmates just to be able to grab that sash and crown, and in the deepest parts of her mind, believe that she won, believe that she lived up to those overblown expectations. to feel a sense of self-worth that nothing else in the world was giving her. It's horribly tragic. It's fucked up. It's really just beyond sad. And again, it doesn't excuse what she did, but it explains it. And I do, in the end, feel sorry for her for being driven to that. For being literally brought to insanity by these terrible, toxic people around her. And all of this played to a upbeat, fun, enjoyable tune. Because why not? There's so many songs out there, whether professionally recorded or parts of musicals or whatever else, that are so often very upbeat, yet hiding a darker meaning. Pumped Up Kicks is a hugely famous example of that. And it's sad that in order to sometimes sell songs like these that talk about such serious subject matter, they have to be made to be poppy and upbeat and fun with their musical style. That sense of drastic difference between the music and the lyrics sells. And sometimes you kind of wish it didn't, because it doesn't minimize the meaning by any means necessarily. But I feel like songs with subject matter like this should be handled a little more, solemnly. To have them be upbeat and everything like this, it's just, it's weird to me and feels almost wrong. And that just might be me, mind you. But it creates this dissent amongst the balance of the song that just makes it feel off. And that could, and for some people, that might be the point. That might be intentional, to give you that uneasy feeling. But some musicians might have to do it just to get that song out there, to get people to listen to it. Either way, luckily, a lot of people who do hear these songs do understand the meaning and do take it seriously. When people listen to Pumped Up Kicks, they know it's about a school shooting. And they know how serious, heavy, and horrifying that topic is, despite the upbeat and fun sound to the song. They fully grasp onto the lyrics' meaning, and luckily it allows it to get that attention. And not everything is like that. But it's a good thing some of them are, I don't know the musical this is from and everything, but again, I think I've maybe reacted to something from it before. But this song was very depressing to me, to put it simply. Much more so than the first Animatic, the Steven Universe one, which was, about stuff like suicide and immortality and depression and everything. Stuff that I've, faced. But I think the reason the first one didn't affect me as much is because of that big-ass warning it came with. Not only from YouTube directly, that I had to click just to be able to even get to the video, but on the video itself as well. Because of all of those warnings, I was prepared for it. I did not have a warning with this one, with the Ballad of Sara. I didn't know what this was going to be at all. I didn't know it was going to take that dark and sad turn. That caught me off guard, and I think that's what made it more impactful to me. Having a warning for stuff that covers suicide and depression and stuff is important and should be done. And I love it when shows, when YouTube videos or anything else does that. Because it's important, especially for someone who might be even further and more heavily triggered by that. It's a serious thing. But I also personally like going into some of these without knowing sometimes. Because the impact it can have, the fact that it can get me so emotional, I almost feel like I want that. I want to get emotional. I want to get just completely broken down. Because to a degree, in my eyes, it kind of makes me feel human. To have those strong emotions, to get that emotionally invested and messed up by something. It makes me feel like I'm living my life right. To cry at stuff that's that sad or that depressing or that hard to watch. To get, again, very emotionally invested in the characters and the stories. It's like, I feel like it's like my sense of sympathy and empathy are strong with that. And that's a good thing, I feel. So it kind of makes me feel good. It's sad. It makes me cry. It makes me upset. But it almost kind of gives me this positive feeling as well at the end of it, where it's like, it makes me happy that I felt that way, that I could feel that way about a story like that. If that makes any sense. I hope you understand what I'm trying to get across. As I've said in the past, I am not good at explaining shit. But yeah, so these two animatics, once again, were donation rewards from Venom0027. If you, Venom, or anyone else wishes to donate for YouTube videos or shows or movies or anything else, please feel free. Donations are always open. And during the month of October, we will have a double reward month, which means for every donation, you will get 2 rewards instead of 1. And donations can be any amount. And you will still get, for every donation you put in, 2 rewards. It's completely optional, though. If you can't or just don't want to donate, that's completely fine. None of my videos will ever be behind a paywall. This is just a way for you guys to get me to react to specific things that you want to see me react to. And it can be pretty much anything as long as I haven't seen it. So, yeah. Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of these two animatics. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.